funny how this world of rock and metal, which we all love, can take on so many different forms and so many different genres. Whether it's the more extreme death and black metal, more experimental post and progressive metal, or the likes of Black Sabbath, the classic metal bands from which it all started. That's why over the last few months, in recent times, I've become more and more aware of bands like Heilung and Wardruna, bands who are incorporating more traditional folk elements into rock and metal music, especially with more of a pagan spice to it. This year alone, I've also seen bands like Ivor and Calandra, bands with a more modern contemporary rock sound, but who are also incorporating these traditional folk elements into their music. That's why I was really curious to check out German band Faun as they came to Manchester. I learned that this was going to be their first show in Manchester. I didn't really know anything about them. I knew that, well, from what I read on the internet, they were another band with a pagan rock influence, but they also incorporated more electronic dance elements into their music. And they must have been pretty popular because the venue sold out weeks before the show took place, and a few weeks prior they had released their album Hex. When I arrived at the venue, Band on the Wall, I remembered what a fantastic venue it is, and just engineered for live music and live performance. It's all blackened out and acoustically treated, so you get that fully immersive experience, and the sound is also always fantastic. It was only my second time going to the venue because the bands I like don't really come to this venue, but it seems like such a waste, and I love to see more rock and metal being performed here. The first act of the evening came up, and I was a bit surprised really. I assumed there was only one support act, but when Janice and John Doran came on stage, it was a pleasant surprise. They weren't on the poster, but in the 30 minutes or so they were allocated, they burned through loads of folk songs, old folk songs that I wasn't aware of. So I thought it was pretty cool really to bring those to life and to make people aware of them in the contemporary era. The crowd were clearly behind it, and I just loved Janice's confident interaction with the crowd, a confidence that I can only dream of really. Next up were Ye Banished Privateers. They were a new band to me. I deliberately didn't want to listen to them because I wanted to have that experience of discovering them live there and in the flesh. When I was queuing outside, I noticed that a lot of people were wearing pirate costumes, with the bandanas, eye patches, you name it, that sort of thing. And it made a lot more sense when the band finally came on stage. They were an 8-piece from Sweden, and had this really cool, it felt like a medieval drunken tavern party really, with the high energy music. It had the strings, the violins, the lute, some acoustic guitars, and traditional percussion instruments. And yeah, it just felt like a big party. Everyone was joining in. But there were some songs that are a lot more slower, a lot more emotional, the likes of Waves Away. Finally, it was the final act of the evening, the headliner, Faun. The venue was pretty packed out at this point, and it's no wonder. This was their first show in Manchester, and they were immense. They were fantastic. I thought they captured the essence of their pagan spirit so elegantly. It felt so authentic with all the traditional instruments. I loved how the vocalist would give an introduction to some songs and maybe for a minute or two explain the meaning behind them, and it felt so much more authentic rather than the manufactured rubbish we hear in the charts. It felt like their soul was going into the songs. This is going to sound strange, but one of the highlights of the set was when the vocalist got this huge drum out, this huge 40-inch drum I think it was, and I don't know why, it was just so cool seeing him bash this huge drum with these massive sticks. I probably sound really childish right now, but that's because I am. But all jokes aside, they were amazing, they sounded phenomenal. I don't even know how you would mix some of those traditional instruments. I don't even know how you would make an hurdy-gurdy sound good, or make a lute sound good in a live venue. But the engineers managed it, and they all deserved a raise. I would love to see Faun again.